Google found the #1 reason most teams fail. What if the #1 reason most teams fail has nothing to do with talent and everything to do with fear? A few years back, Google got obsessed with a question: what makes the perfect team? They launched a massive internal study, spending 2 years analyzing 180 of their own teams from the rock stars to the ones that flopped. They crunched every piece of data they could find, hunting for the secret sauce. Was it stacking a team with A players? Was it the perfect mix of introverts and extroverts? Was it just putting friends together and hoping for the best? Turns out the answer to all of those was a big, fat no. The one factor they discovered was a total surprise. It points to a simple shift away from a leadership tactic most of us assume is effective, but actually creates a culture of fear and silence that quietly sabotages success. So, what is it? And how can you use it to transform your own team, starting today? Section 1. The old way and the culture of silence. For what feels like forever, the management playbook has been all about one thing: results. It sounds logical, right? Set aggressive goals, hold people accountable, and praise the top performers while weeding out the rest. We're taught this creates a high-performance environment. But what Google's research stumbled upon is that this approach has a dark side many leaders don't see coming. When the pressure is solely on hitting targets, an unintended consequence creeps in. Fear. Fear of missing a goal. Fear of being the one who makes a mistake. Fear of looking incompetent in front of your boss. According to the American Institute of Stress, job-related stress costs U.S. employers more than $300 billion a year from problems like absenteeism, turnover, and lost productivity. This isn't that healthy, motivating pressure that pushes you to do great work. This is a corrosive anxiety that forces people into survival mode. The focus shifts from "how do we win" to "how do I not lose?" This creates what I call a culture of silence. We've all been in that meeting where you know an idea is flawed, but you stay quiet. You see a problem coming down the pipeline, but you think, "That's not my department," because flagging it feels way too risky. In this culture, people stop offering creative ideas. They stop questioning the status quo, and they definitely don't admit when they've screwed up. They're afraid to rock the boat. This silence is the quiet killer of innovation and agility. And it's exactly what Google's researchers found their least successful teams had in common. Section 2. The shocking discovery from Project Aristotle. Google codenamed their internal study Project Aristotle, a nod to the philosopher's famous quote, "The whole is greater than the sum of its parts." The research team was packed with statisticians, organizational psychologists, and engineers. They were convinced they could moneyball their way to a perfect team algorithm. They analyzed everything. Did the best teams hang out after work? Did they have a higher collective IQ? Did they even sit together in the office? But no matter how they sliced the data, nothing stuck. No clear patterns emerged. They were stumped. They had all these groups of incredibly smart, talented people, yet some teams soared while others with equally brilliant members just fizzled. This was the plot twist in their research. They realized the who on the team didn't really matter. It wasn't about the individual skills or traits of the members. It was about how the team worked together. The key wasn't in the composition of the team, but in the team's norms and environment. This led them to a concept first identified in the 1990s by a Harvard Business School professor named Amy Edmondson, and it turned out to be the single most important piece of the puzzle. Section 3. The reveal. The #1 factor: psychological safety. The #1 predictor of a successful team at Google was psychological safety. So, what on earth does that actually mean? Amy Edmondson defines it as a shared belief that the team is safe for interpersonal risk-taking. In simple terms, it's the feeling that you won't be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. It's a culture where vulnerability is an asset, not a liability. Now, let's be super clear about what psychological safety is not. It's not about being nice all the time. It's not about lowering standards or getting rid of accountability. And it's definitely not about making sure everyone feels cozy and comfortable 24/7. In fact, real psychological safety often creates discomfort, the good kind. It's what allows you to have candid conversations, to disagree with your manager, or to point out that the emperor has no clothes. It's about creating a space where people are more afraid of letting the team down by staying silent than they are of speaking up and maybe being wrong. While Google found 4 other key dynamics of successful teams: dependability, structure and AMP, clarity, meaning, and impact, they discovered that psychological safety was the foundation for all of them. You can't have dependability if people are afraid to ask for help. You can't achieve clarity if people don't feel safe asking questions. And you'll never find meaning and impact if you can't bring your whole, authentic self to work. Section 4. 5 signs. Your team is running on fear, not safety. So, how can you tell if your own team is running low on psychological safety? Here are 5 warning signs that fear is in the driver's seat. First, the silo effect. In a fear-based culture, everyone retreats to their own corner. Collaboration is seen as a distraction or even a risk. It's that mindset of, I just need to hit my numbers and stay out of trouble. This kills the cross-functional teamwork required for real innovation, because people are prioritizing self-preservation over group success. Second, the CYA culture. Is half your job just proving you're doing your job? That's a classic sign. It looks like massive email chains with half the company CC'd, overly detailed meeting notes sent out to prove what was said, and requiring formal approval for tiny decisions. This isn't productive work, it's defensive behavior showing that people are more worried about deflecting blame than doing great work. Third, mistakes are punished and buried. When something goes wrong, is the first question, whose fault is it? Or is it, what can we learn? Fear-based leaders punish honest mistakes, which guarantees that nobody will ever want to take a risk again. This forces employees to either hide their errors or blame someone else, meaning the root cause never gets fixed and real growth becomes impossible. Fourth, the leader's echo chamber. In a culture of fear, leaders often become dangerously disconnected from reality. Bad news doesn't travel up. No one is willing to tell the leader the unvarnished truth because they know it's not welcome. This creates a massive blind spot where a leader thinks everything is going great, while the team is actually drowning in dysfunction. Fifth, the perpetual fire drill. Fear-based workplaces often operate in a state of constant, manufactured urgency. Every task is a crisis, and everyone is a firefighter, lurching from one emergency to the next. This relentless anxiety makes deep, strategic thinking impossible. It just burns people out, tanks performance, and creates a toxic level of stress that infects everything. If you recognize any of these signs, stick around because we're just getting to the good part. How to actually fix it. Section 5. The simple shift. How to build psychological safety. So, how do you actually move from a culture of fear to a culture of safety? It doesn't require a massive, complicated program. It starts with a few intentional moves from the leader. First, the leader has to model fallibility. The single most powerful thing a leader can do is go first. Be the first to say, I'm not sure, what do you all think? Be the first to admit when you've made a mistake and share what you learned from it. When you publicly own your errors, you reframe mistakes not as a reason for punishment, but as a source of learning. It's a vulnerable move, but it signals to everyone on the team that it's okay to be human. Second, frame work as a learning problem, not just an execution problem. In today's world, most of our work is complex and uncertain. Instead of the old school, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions, try framing the challenge differently. Say something like, we've never done it this way before, so I'm going to need everyone's brainpower to figure this out. This simple reframe invites people to contribute. It shifts the dynamic from a test they might fail to a challenge you can solve together. Finally, respond productively. How a leader reacts when someone actually takes a risk and speaks up is everything. If someone challenges your idea, thank them for their honesty. If someone brings up a tough problem, thank them for their courage. If someone pitches a crazy idea, explore it with genuine curiosity. You don't have to agree with every point, but you absolutely must make the act of contributing a positive experience. This is how you reinforce that every voice is not just welcome, but necessary. Conclusion and AMP. CTA. For years, we were told that building a great team was about finding the right people. But Google's groundbreaking research proved it's less about who you have and more about how you treat them. The secret to elite performance isn't just hiring a roster of individual superstars. It's creating a culture where every single person feels safe enough to take risks, admit mistakes, and contribute their full intelligence. That's the simple but profound shift. Moving from a culture of fear, where people are managed for compliance, to a culture of psychological safety, where people are led for engagement and innovation. What's one thing a leader or a team has done that made you feel safe to speak up? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might be the one that helps another leader make that crucial shift. And if you want to keep exploring the science of building unstoppable teams, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell. Thanks for watching.